Episode 2 is going to be cleaning out the gas tank, modifying this fuel pump bracket for a T100 pickup, and then installing the fuel pump in the gas tank and hopefully getting the engine running finally. Okay, I got the gas tank out. It took a little bit of work. I had to remove the cross member that goes right underneath the gas tank. Also have to take off these two sway bar brackets on each side, and then with some wiggling and persuasion it does come out. My tank is missing the hanger, the piece that goes in there that holds the pump. So I bought one for a T100 and it fits the opening exactly, but it's way too long, so I'm gonna have to modify it. Because you can't really get replacements for the LandCruiser, at least for this year, the 88. But aside from that, I have some muriatic acid. I'm gonna pour in the tank and shake it up and try to get all the loose rust and everything out. And I believe it doesn't have any leaks or cracks or anything, but fill it up again with water after it's cleaned just one last time to make sure. Well, I gotta say, these speed out bits are pretty handy. I took this strip screw right out. Got the sending unit out. So it clearly does not work anymore. So I'm just going to put it back in here and leave it in there when I clean the tank out. Then I'll just go and replace it with the new one later on. Well, I have devised a plan here in order to seal up all the holes without ruining the rubber caps or the rubber hose, because it'll probably just disintegrate in that acid. So I'm going to put foil over all of the ports and then put rubber caps or rubber hoses on top of that. Alright, I have the acid poured in there, all the holes blocked off. Even made a little makeshift cover for the top out of aluminum foil so I could shake it up and not spill a bunch. Alright, it's done. Flushed it out with the acid. This is what I poured out. So all that was in the gas tank. Hopefully I dissolved all of it and it's clean. Next I'm just gonna fill it up with water a few times and rinse it out. Okay, so this piece came out of the gas tank. When I was cleaning it, it came unlodged, but it was filled and blocked with goop. And what this tube does is it goes into the very bottom of the compartment where the pump sits, and that lets it get filled from the main part of the tank, but it keeps fuel in the compartment with the pump in case your vehicle, when it sloshes back and forth or is tipped to one side, that prevents all the fuel from coming out of that little compartment. So anyway, now I have to figure out how to put this back in the tank when I can't really reach in there. So I'm going to try to do it with magnets and kind of put it down in there and shove it into place with a pry bar maybe. Alright, I use these magnets to lower it down into position, and then I just took that pry bar in there and wedged it in, and there it is. You can see that tube. It's right there. It's doing its job. Alright. Okay, this is the pump bracket from the T100 that I've modified. I've cut and bent some of these metal lines. Cut a section out, and then put it back together with some screws and adhesive. And now it fits in the tank perfectly. So that lines up right about there. Should be just enough room to get the hoses on these lines and for it to fit underneath. And here I thought I'd have to buy a new sending unit for the gas tank, because when I took this one out it wasn't even moving, and it did take a lot of wiggling after spraying it with some PB blaster and brake cleaner and wire brushing everything, but that shaft just did not want to move. But eventually, just after wiggling this side enough, it eventually started moving it. So hopefully it's good now, because it's just a contact on a resistor and it moves freely now, so hopefully it should work. The next challenge I have to deal with is the wires that go to the gas tank pump and sending unit. And how they were with the tank in the trunk setup was they were routed up through that interior panel into the trunk inside. But I believe the factory location is through this hole behind the rear wheel and then up underneath the floor and next to this rail across the top of the gas tank. But they're not long enough, and I think it's because these wires are spliced. I'm not sure why, but it's the same, because it's the same factory wires, but just cut and spliced together. And it should be long enough that this grommet reaches through this hole. Well, we were able to get it in there just by getting out our wire stretcher, making the wires longer. And so clearly this is the cleanest, most round factory grommet hole ever. But the hey, it's in there. So hopefully those wires reach now. All right. Well, nothing's leaking. Yeah, I hear it running. Definitely was leaking pretty bad that first time, but seems like it's good to go. All right, I guess I'll come over there and start it. Well, that's the start.